Okay, well, it's yeah, 20 it's 25 to 10, so I think we should we should start the session and just let people come in gradually. Thank you all for coming as always. It's been really enjoyable doing the past couple of events, so thank you to the faces that are coming back, and hello to the new ones as well. This session is all around how we measure the value of a BRM, and of course we're lucky enough to have Jeremy Byrne. I'm sure many of you know Jeremy. Jeremy, say hello.
Hi everyone.
I'm sure you guys know Jeremy, more than you do me as well, some of you. So he's been really good with the BRM community, being involved with the BRM Institute for, I think it's like 8 years now, right, Jeremy?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
I think so.
Awesome. So yeah, Jeremy's been doing lots of different training and really knowledgeable on all different aspects of BRM. So really glad to have Jeremy here doing this presentation. So I think we should just jump straight into it really. So I will share my screen. So can everyone see the screen? Nope. Good start. Monday morning. Is everyone able to see that now?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So as I mentioned, how do we measure the value of a BRM? I'll just quickly go over what we're doing in the session. If it will let me go on to the next slide. So we want to cover what the BRM's really there to do. KPIs not to aim for, which is really important, because if you measure yourself against the wrong things, it's a recipe for disaster. KPIs to measure yourself for against rather, and then of course the most important KPI as well, which is the BRM maturity model, which Jeremy will kind of talk us through and how we progress up it. Got a few things as well to be really mindful of when we're doing these kind of self-assessments as well. Some really good tips and tricks to help measure yourself, and different tools that you can use as well. And then Jeremy has kind of put together a conclusion as well. And then of course, as always, we go over some questions and answers, and just take some questions from everybody. But I'll hand it over to Jeremy.
Thank you, Nathan. Good to see everybody here. It's nice, good turnout, I think. I mean, I see lots of faces and then they keep disappearing, reappearing. So a little bit about me before we start. So I'm Jeremy Byrne. I probably know a few of you. I've been an IT business partner at Loughborough University for over 9 years. Created the function there, helped to mature it and get it to where it is today. And when I first started that kind of journey and that function coming into the job role, I Googled around for best practices and found the BRM Institute, started firing them off lots of questions about their best practices and guides and frameworks and things. And then they said, oh, if you're really that keen, you should come and join us and start helping out and volunteering. Just dived in, started volunteering. And within the first year, I was flying over to America to help organize and present at a conference. Not looked back since, been involved with them ever since. So last 8 or so years, presenting at conferences, working on working groups and different councils and leadership teams and things. I do find that the more you put into things like that, the more you get out of it. So it really helps with like my own development and helping out with my journey at Loughborough as well, because everything I learned from them I can bring back and hopefully implement. And then more recently, I've become a BRM trainer for a company called IT Winners. I've been doing that for the last 3 years or so, mainly delivering the BRMP, Business Relationship Management Professional, and the CBRM, which is like the practitioner and the foundation levels of the BRM training. I've been doing that for the last few years, and generally what I do is I take a few days holiday from my Loughborough University day job, go and do the training, and then go back to Loughborough University. Luckily, they don't mind, and luckily they give me lots of holiday days, so I still manage to actually go on holiday as well. My family wouldn't forgive me otherwise. If you want to connect with me and talk to me about anything to do with Loughborough University, the BRM Institute, or training, there's my LinkedIn. Connect with me on LinkedIn, that's fine. Or you can email me. I've got a few different emails, but that one's the one I check the most. So yeah, that's probably the best one to use.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeremy. Honestly,
no problem.
do not know how you have time for everything. It's a mystery.
Neither do I. Just don't sleep. That's my advice. Don't sleep, and then you're fine. So moving on around. Today we're talking about kind of how to measure the value of a BRM. So to think about that, what's the value? We've got to think about what is the BRM there to do. So whether it's a strategic role or a tactical role or a bit of both, it's all about value. So the BRM role is there to kind of identify value. That's both within the business and within technology. So generally in the BRM role, I find I go out to the business, I have meetings with their kind of senior leadership teams, their directors and different business units and things. And I go and talk to them and say, you know, what's changing for you? Where are you heading? What's new? What's different? Where are you struggling? Trying to find any kind of pain points or opportunities, and then thinking about how we can kind of apply technology to that to help them and things like that. Also on the technology side, I'm also going around within the IT department, talking to the different IT teams. We've got developers, we've got integration teams, we've got networks teams, server teams, going and talking to them and saying, you know, what's the new technology? What are the new capabilities that you can see? What you're playing around with and experimenting with? So are you doing like AI stuff? Have you got new integration platforms? Are you looking at the Azure cloud? Internet of Things was the latest one we were doing a few weeks ago. And then looking at that and thinking, right, where can I apply that around the university? Where can I get some value out of that? Which business unit's going to be really appreciating of applying that new technology? And then as well as kind of identifying all that value, we've got to optimize it. So what I do is I go and talk to multiple different business units and fellow business partners do around the university. And then we've got to kind of join up those requirements to create, you know, one big project rather than 5 little projects generally. So if everybody's asking for roughly the same thing, we've got to try and package it up, tease it out and optimize it. So we're doing one large project rather than 5 little ones. The business units might not want that because they're getting 80% of what they want instead of 100% of what they want, but it's for the greater organizational benefit. So we're always trying to think of that bigger picture, you know, sell the larger value organizational wide rather than the individual business units. Then obviously, oh God, Nathan, sorry.
Oh, no, carry on, Jeremy, carry on.
All right, okay. And then so once we've got that kind of one large project, hopefully delivering value to lots of different business units with some new emerging technology in it, then we've got to get that value delivered. So we get the project initiated. So we take that through the governance and things to get it initiated, get it prioritized, and then hand it over to our project management team to deliver generally. And for those large ones, as a BRM, I would often sit on the project board, helping to steer it, making sure it still aligns with the value that we identified at the beginning. And once the project's delivered, hopefully we do benefits realization. I say hopefully because it doesn't always happen and it's the thing most people struggle with. But 6 months, a year after the project's delivered, sometimes even like the next day after it's delivered, you can prove it's delivering the value that you said in the value plan at the beginning. So we can go back to that and prove that we've got it, write that up in a report, and then take that back to the kind of the boards that approved the project in the first place. So generally with these, it's kind of a joint effort between me and the business to get this project initiated. We're jointly writing and presenting our business case and our value plans and risks and everything. And then afterwards, 6 months down the line, jointly writing that kind of benefits realization report to take back to that same board to prove that we did what we said we were going to do.
No, Jeremy, I mean, when you explain it like that, right, it seems so simple for people to understand why BRMs are there and, you know, what they do. And you'd think everyone in the organization would just jump on board, right? But it's not always the case. I mean, for you, why do you think it is that some people struggle to realize what the BRM's there to do, just out of interest?
Yeah, so some people do struggle with clarity of the role, especially if it didn't exist before. They might have said, oh, I'll just talk directly to the projects team and tell them what projects I want, and then they'll do it. You know, it might be that they've got a lot of money in their business unit and they'll be like, I'll give it to you. If you can't prioritize it, I'll just outsource it. But then they're kind of operating in silos. It's that mentality of just looking at their own bits and, you know, and the projects teams, just whoever shouts loudest will do that one. So it's more about that value management, the prioritization, the business cases. And a lot of it is joining it all up and looking across the whole organization. And a lot of people don't do that. So it's that kind of benefit which we're adding.
Yeah, absolutely. Just need to look at the bigger picture as opposed to in your silo. Okay, awesome. So yeah, Jeremy, I mean, we spoke about the KPIs not to aim for and why why it's important not to aim for these ones, but tell us a bit about them.
Yeah, so often people try and measure the kind of value of BRM, and they're trying to prove it, and it can be you get a change of leadership, and if they didn't have a BRM in their previous organization, they come into yours, then they don't really understand what they're there for. And like we said, we're trying to explain it in the terms I just did. But ultimately, sometimes they say, oh, I need measurable targets for you to hit, and I want to see you're improving over time and things. So ones we shouldn't be doing are efficiencies created by the BRM and income generated by the BRM, the number of projects coming in. It's very easy to say, you know, let's measure those things. The number of patents registered, you know, that proves we're getting really innovative ideas. The number of meetings held, are we meeting them regularly and things like that? Now, the reasons why I say we don't aim for these is because things like the efficiencies created and the income generated, yeah, that is all those kind of value bits that we are planning and we're ensuring are delivered. But if we start claiming those and saying, you know, this is the BRM, we've generated all this income, I think what you find often is that the project management team are saying, this is all the income we've generated, this is the income we've delivered, and they're claiming the exact same value. And then the business might be saying, this is all the improvements we made, and this is all the income we've generated. They're claiming the same value. And everyone's claiming the same value, and it might be that, you know, really it's a joint effort and things like that. Number of patents registered, again, you know, if we go in the training course I do and things like that, they say you shouldn't do the patents registered, you should do the value coming out of the patents registered, the innovation that's made a, you know, a value, a business value you can measure, things like that. And the number of meetings held, well, you should never have a meeting unless there's something to discuss. You know, if you go to the senior leadership team and say, I want to have a BRM meeting with you once a month, and you go there, and first month, you've got lots to talk about, lots to tell them about the changes. The next month you go there and nothing's really changed, and, you know, there's nothing to talk about. It can be seen as a waste of time, and they see, you know, the value of this BRM decreasing. You need to go there when you've got when they've either got something to tell you or you've got something to tell them. You've got a decision to be made, somewhere to steer it, things like that.
Exactly. I think, Jeremy, it kind of comes down to, you know, not doing something for the sake of it, right? Not for just having this, you know, statistic to aim for. It, like you say, it needs to add real value, and that ties back into the purpose of the BRM. And I think we'll lead nicely onto the KPIs to aim for, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so the ones which I think are generally better for the BRM, the BRM function as a whole, or BRMs as an individual. So when you think about the function as a whole, it's clarity of the roles and responsibilities. So do people know who's doing what and why they're doing it? And often, you know, people might say, well, this isn't the BRM's job. The IT director should be ensuring this happens and things like that. But sometimes we do have to kind of step in and get this clarity, because there are overlapping roles. You have an enterprise architect with a business focus who's going out talking to the business about business capabilities. So it's an architecture point of view. You have a PMO person going out talking to them. You might have a product owner talking about a 2-year pipeline of product improvements and new capabilities they're trying to identify. And then it looks like, you know, we're all going out talking to the business, asking them the same question: what do you want in the next 2 years? And from the business's point of view, it's happened to me, they get really annoyed about that. You know, I just want to talk to one person. Why have we got 5 people coming and asking me the exact same questions? So we've got to be clear on the roles and responsibilities of who's doing what. We need those kind of procedures documented, and they want to be optimized. So first, how we do, we draw swim lane diagrams, and we say, you know, for someone to initiate a project, what they do is they talk to the BRM will validate that request. Then they'll go out and they'll ask all the other business units, and they'll do some work around that. Then they'll look at the current capabilities, see what they can map onto it, and they'll work with the architect in that respect. And then once they'll go through to the business case and blah, 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 blah. And then at the end it says, and then it goes, and then once it's approved, then it hands over to the project manager. And you can see very clear kind of roles, responsibilities, where each person's adding value to it, where they're doing their job. So I think that's something that's really important to try and get in and get clear and get everyone in agreement with. So my advice is, if you do end up writing those, then make sure that everyone who's in there as a named person who's affected by it has also agreed it and had their input into it. Once you get it all clear, the things happen much smoother. And then other KPIs, so invitations to planning and steering groups and things like that, strategy formulation groups. From a BRM point of view, when we first started out at Loughborough University, the main thing was, we wanted to go at this maturity model, we want to become strategic, but to get there, you've got to do all the tactical stuff first. So some people, you wouldn't be able to get invitations to talk to the senior leadership team. They'd be talking to lower level operations, tactical type people, and they'd be like, talk to them, solve our problems first. But as you go at the maturity level, which we'll come on to the next slide, you get those invitations to those meetings. And that can be a very good KPI to measure, how many people are we talking to about strategy? How many planning meetings are happening without us and how many with us? And we can try and chip away, improve our worth and get invited to those. Another one, going back to those kind of procedures and documents, is that value plans. Because we're all about value management, we want to have value plans in place which are robust enough to be put inside our business cases or alongside them to help with that kind of prioritization and initiation from those committees and governance groups. So we should have those in place. So all these kind of new ideas that come out of the business and out of the IT departments, new technology, we should be looking at the value of them, trying to assess the business value now and the potential value in the future, so we can get an idea of what we should be focusing on and what we should be prioritizing. And then at the other end of that is benefits realization. Like I said in the previous slide, one a lot of people forget about and don't do straight away, and it's the very easy one to drop because people are asking for new products, new services, so you always focus on the new things and not what's actually running. But we should do this value management on the things that are running, because we should ensure they're delivering the value that we said at the beginning. And also things that are running, we should be checking the value. Costs creep up over time, people start using them less, we can identify things to retire. Again, it might not be our role to do that in the IT department, but we should be trying to ensure that that's being done. Another great one is satisfaction levels. Just making sure everybody's happy is always a good indicator that you're doing a good job. And that can be, for us at the university, we've got staff and students, but it can be your internal staff and your end customer as well. Anyone who kind of interacts with the IT services, the IT products that you're delivering out of your department, is the satisfaction levels of that improving? Are people satisfied? So for us, the end users, they're satisfied if it's all working, it's seamless, it's intuitive, they've got all the help they need. But for the staff, sometimes the satisfaction with IT is about, is it transparent? Do I understand why they're making their decisions, where they're making their decisions, and how are they delivering it? The worst thing that you can do was, one of the first problems I had to solve was the business asks for a project and then it goes into IT, and then 2 years later it comes out the other end if they were lucky. And they didn't know what happened in that 2 years. And then when it came out, it might not be what they exactly asked for. And IT made all the decisions, tweaked it and adjusted it, put what technology they wanted on and pushed it out to them without, consulting them. So we had to, get those transparency, get that instilled within the IT department. And when we did that, that improved the satisfaction, the reputation of IT within the university. Another KPI is business problems being solved. So making sure that the business is coming to you with business problems rather than technical solutions, and then we're solving them. So in an immature one, then the business will be coming to you with, I want this bit of software, or I've already bought this bit of software, can you make it work? Which is the worst one. And what we really want is, I'm thinking of this change within the business. What technical solutions can we put in? How can we plan for it in the next year or two? When we start having those conversations, that's a much better indication that we're going to be adding more value and doing a better job.
Absolutely, and as you alluded to there, Jeremy, it's all about the kind of maturity of the BRM function, isn't it? That allows you to measure against that as a KPI. Like you said, if you're there as an order taker, it's going to be a very kind of not a great KPI to aim yourself against, is it at all?
No, exactly.
This, however, is a lot better.
So this is the main thing that I use to kind of prove that the BRM function is working. It's the BRM maturity model. what you can do is you can do a kind of self-assessment on it to try and assess where you think you are and your maturity with a particular business unit or the organization as a whole, and just trying to place yourself or your IT department and your relationship on here. So level 1, people are probably familiar with this, but I'll just run through it very quickly. Level 1, ad hoc, whoever shouts loudest gets their stuff done. So this is, you got the particularly, aggressive, shouty business unit, and they always get their stuff done. You might have a quieter one in the corner who never gets anything done. Level 2 is order taker, so people are still asking for stuff, and you generally just do it in the order that they ask it. Level 3, service provider. This is instilling that kind of ITIL best practices and frameworks. So you get things like incident management, problem management, change board, and things like that. So you're delivering IT services, but you're delivering them in a well-managed way. From the business's point of view, they're getting kind of a consistent, reliable service. And then level 4, trusted advisor. That's when they're thinking of changing things. The first thing they do is they pick up the phone and come and ask you for your opinion, because you're the business partner, you're the IT guy, and you'll give them some really good advice to stop them going down the wrong direction. And then level 5, strategic partner. That's when you're working strategically with the business. So if they're thinking of doing a new 5-year plan, 3-year plan, they bring you in and you kind of co-create it with them. And it's a business and IT joint strategy, not a business strategy, and then you write the IT strategy 6 months later to try and deliver the business strategy. It's just one single strategy. And like I say, you can do this on per business unit. So I can think about my HR department, one of my academic schools, the School of Science, or I've got hotels. I look after one of the hotels, and I can try and think about our relationship and how we kind of deal with them and where I would place them on there. There are other tools we can use to kind of assess where we are in here as well, which I'll come to later towards the end. So then, oh, sorry, I was just going to say.
Oh, sorry. Carry on, Jerry.
All right, okay. Once you've kind of assessed where you are on there, then it's a case of, right, so this is where we are. Where do we want to be? Well, obviously, we want to be as close to the top as possible. But if you assess yourself and you're at level 2/3, it's like, yeah, that sounds like where we are now. Then what I do is I put in a 1-year plan on how to get to the next level. And it's always one level at a time. And it's always at least 12 to 18 months to get there and prove that you're there and you're delivering it well. So you can't go from ad hoc to strategic partner in a year. Unfortunately, that is pretty much a 5-year journey, 4 or 5-year journey. Because if you're doing that kind of firefighting, you've then got to get things in order. Then you've got to get all the ITIL stuff in. You've got to get that working well, at least for a year. And from the business's point of view as well, they need that consistency. They need to see those improvements before you become trusted. And they're not going to invite you to the strategy formulation meetings until you've been a trusted advisor to them for at least a year. That's how I find it anyway. Other people, you might not. And also, you might find that some business units, they only want you to get to level 3. They think, oh, trusted advisor, strategic partner. I won't do that with the BRM, I'll do that with the CIO. I'll do that with the IT director. If that's happening, what we've done is, in some business units, we've got up to level 4 trusted advisor. The strategy they want to do at a higher level with the C-suite type people. What we say is that they are in fact doing an element of the BRM role, and we get them to do that strategic partnering, but then feed it back into our group. So we've created what we call a wider business partnering group, which includes our IT director, our enterprise architects, our PMO manager. Anyone who goes out and talks to senior people in the business comes to that wider business partnering group and shares everything in that. We found that really helps by pulling things together without us trying to seem like we're trying to steal elements off other people's job roles. We just try and bring them into the fold and help them work together collaboratively with us. Good.
No, apologies, Jeremy. My question was going to be just then, as you finished explaining the maturity model, just around the amount of time that you'd typically advise people on how to progress and how long it takes to go from one ring to another. But you obviously alluded to it there. Kind of 12 to 18 months, would you say, is the sweet spot where it's not rushed? People don't feel pressured. It's a natural progression in terms of the maturity of the function.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so 12 to 18 months on each level, and not skipping levels, I find is the best approach to get it up there consistently. And you might get up there and then something terrible happens and it knocks you back down again. So, some disaster happens in IT, they lose trust in you, you lose your reputation and you get knocked down again. And yeah, you just have to help build it back up again, unfortunately, but it does happen.
Snakes and ladders.
Yeah.
So, Jeremy, I know we mentioned quite a lot of things to be cautious and mindful of when you're following these kind of KPIs and self-assessment methods. So what really are they, and how do you avoid them?
Well, I don't know if I know how to avoid all of these, but things to be mindful of. Internal politics, everyone's got this, especially if you're in an industry where you've got long-term members of staff in the university. People come and work there straight after they finish their degree, and they stay there till they're 60, 70 years old and fall out the other end. So we get people there for a long time. They get very stuck in their ways. They know people, they form alliances, and there's all these different relationships and politics you've got to be aware of. So there's a lot of politics to try and navigate, and unfortunately you build up that knowledge of what it is and how to handle it over time. You've got to have empathy and understanding, but you've got to understand what's important to different people and what those politics are. I've got 99% of the time, a BRM is not a project manager, and we try not to be as much as we can because we focus pre-project and post-project. But I have got one which is just coming up at the minute, which is particularly prickly. There's lots of stakeholders and it's very politically sensitive. And I've been brought in, they said, can you please help project manage this one rather than sitting on the board, because it's all politics and rather than, development of new services. So yeah, we've got to be careful of it, but if we are careful of it and we've been doing it for a long time, we can become the experts in navigating politics and help other people. The other one I had said earlier, claiming value others are claiming. If everyone's saying they delivered this value, it doesn't look great if you're reporting that up to the senior leadership of your organization to say, I saved the organization, £10 million, but like 5 other people have claimed that same value. It doesn't look good. Just, by building the reputation, by building the maturity, that will be enough. You don't need to go shouting about it. Just my next point, 2 points down, blowing your own trumpet. We don't need to go shouting about how great we are and what we've achieved. We can do it in a very kind of humble way by just going at maturity and raising up that value and making those more mature relationships business focused rather than technology focused. Another one to be mindful of is over measuring, like we said, those KPIs, those very hard quantitative measures. If we have those and we're measuring satisfaction, it's great, but don't do it like every month. You don't keep saying, are you happy? Are you happy? Are you happy? People will get annoyed with it. Your score will start dropping. Something like satisfaction surveys and things like that, they're the best done annually, it's most frequent. Over measuring these type of things can be detrimental, and also focusing too much on the figures and trying to get those hard figures on number of meetings, number of projects. You end up people trying to hit figures rather than do the job. The BRM job is best described as working in the grey. Things aren't black and white. You're in that middle ground. You're working in the grey. So yeah. Another one, hiding mistakes and also finger pointing, that kind of thing. It doesn't help anyone. Be open, honest, and transparent. Like I said, BRM is trust-based, so we should act with integrity and we should show people what we're doing, why we're doing it. If something's gone wrong, own up to it and be open and transparent, explain the reasons why, do lessons learned and move on. The more you try and hide things from the business or hide things from the IT department from the business side, then the more trouble you'll end up in. It's best just to be open and honest where you can. As long as the politics allows it, obviously.
Yeah, it's case by case basis for that one.
Yeah.
So what are your top tips and tricks then, Jeremy?
Okay, so yeah, even though I said we shouldn't blow our own trumpet, you can do it to a degree, I think. So recording the wins, recording your successes. So, have we become more strategic with the business unit? Have we helped to deliver a particular good, valuable project? Have we done some really good work somewhere? We've got everything working. keep a record of those wins, and then what some people do is they create a yearly review of, what's the past year been like. So we do this kind of like internally within our team, and we might pass it up to the IT director. So it's not something that we kind of publish widely, but other people will do it, and they'll publish it for the organization. Say, this is the BRM function, this is what we've achieved. It can be great to kind of show the clarity of the role, what they're doing, what's the value they're adding, but you just got to be very careful in how you write it, and like I said earlier, the value you're claiming. So, we were part of this project and we helped deliver and things like that, rather than we did this, we did that. Creating a year plan of how to mature. So again, going back to that maturity model, like I said before, it's really great to have a 1 year plan of this is where we've assessed we are on that maturity model for a particular business unit. So how are we going to get there? Well, we're going to solve all their problems. We're going to act it, get things more consistent for them. We're going to go to them with some more information early, and try and get them back on board. Measure organizational success. So, is the organization as a whole improving? Is there for the university, it's all about reputation and league table rankings. Are we moving up that ranking? Are we helping everybody to get there? Every business unit that we partner with, there's a 1 year plan and a 4 year plan. Are we helping to deliver those and helping for them to succeed? One of the best measures for internally within the IT department is measuring where we've stopped wasted resources early. So the BRM function, getting everyone in the business to understand it's one thing, getting people in IT to understand it is another thing. Our IT department, they saw us as people who went out, drank coffee, ate cake, and brought them more work. And that's what they saw us doing. So they said, I've got 2 years worth of projects. You're going out there having your coffee and cake and bring me another 5 projects. Can you stop that, please? So what we had to do is we had to kind of write a report we have a log of everything we've approved and things like that. That's all documented. We started logging everything we stopped. So someone comes for an idea and they says, can I have this bit of software? And immediately we say, no, you can't have it. We've already got some software that does that. Unfortunately, it's not as nice and pretty to use as the one you found, but essentially it does the same functionality and it's already in and it's cheaper and things like that. So we say, we're not doing a project to deliver that bit of software. You have to use existing software. And also where we've had 5 requests and we've bundled them together and turned them into one project rather than 5 is another instance of us stopping that wasted resources. So we started trying to build up this list of everything we've stopped early, projects we've collaborated into one project and things like that. And then we can show that to the IT department so they know that we're not just going out and getting them more work. We are helping to prioritize work. We are stopping work as well.
I think, Jeremy, that all ties back into the maturity model, right? If you're on that kind of ad hoc level, or you're just an order taker, you're never going to be able to really stop resources getting wasted, are you? In that sense, you're never going to have the courage to kind of say, look, but I like your idea, but we can't go forward with that. We've got priorities, and that's all kind of tying back to progressing up the maturity model as the main KPI to aim against, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. So tools to help.
Yeah, so there's a few tools here to help with this. So there is a maturity measuring tool. There's lots of these on the BRM Institute. I took one and then tweaked it for my needs. And then I was working with IT winners and I showed them and they said, oh, this is great. Can we kind of make it a bit more generic and put our logos on it and give it out to the people we're connected with? And I said, yeah, that's fine. The BRM Institute said, yeah, that's fine as well. So if you go to that link, you can download the model I've made. It's an Excel thing, and basically you can put in 4 different business units, and then it asks you lots of questions around, are they coming to you with business problems rather than technical solutions? How often is this happening? And you rate it on a scale of 0 to 5. And then at the end, it kind of analyzes it all. And it will show you like areas where you should improve and give you a rough idea of where you are on that scale. So I was doing this internally in the university, and I'll do it on an annual basis. So I'll do it, and then we'll have our plan to try and improve our maturity, and then I'll do it again a year later. That way, we've got some kind of indication of where we're going. So yeah, I found that really useful, and if you download it, then please appreciate my colouring in and the little coloured bars that move, because that took me ages. Another one is, so I was talking about those annual reports people do. So Purdue University in America have got a really good annual report, and it's often used at the BRM Institute as an example of a good report that you can do. It's about 6 to 8 pages long, and it's all around BRMs and, you know, what they've done and who they've worked with and how projects they've helped deliver and the difference they've made. I showed that to my IT director and he said it was great, but he wanted one that was on 1 page. Typical, eh? You know, I haven't got time to read all those pages. So yeah, we tried to create a cut down version, but mainly they're more interested in the satisfaction and the maturity and things like that improving. Yeah, like I said, that maturity model assessment tool was one I got from the BRM Institute and then tweaked for my own use. There's lots more tools on the Institute. So if you're not already a member, I think you probably have to sign up. I think it's about £150 a year maybe or something like that. Get your organisation to buy your membership, go on there, dig through the tools, take what you want and then tweak them for your needs. That's my advice.
Yeah, that IT winners maturity model is really interesting as well. I've taken a look at that. That's yeah, it could be really insightful and useful as well, following on from the session. So I'd advise people to take a look at the link. I can always send that out post post event as well.
Yeah, cool. So in conclusion, hard measurable KPIs are difficult to find in the BRM world, and chasing them can be a mistake, you know, trying to hit those targets and things like that. It's much better to have softer KPIs such as satisfaction and that maturity. They're more appropriate for the BRMs, I find. But I think the most important should be placed on the maturity of the BRM function working with the business. So working up to becoming a trusted advisor or a strategic partner. I don't think you always have to get to that level 5. If that level 5 is, like I said, being done by your CIO, that's fine. Just let them do it. Get up to level 4, but get them to feed in and work with you on that level 5 and make them aware that they are in fact a BRM and they're really working for you, not for the people they think they are.
and Jeremy, I think it once again ties back to your first slide, all around added value. If you're not adding value, you know, that's what are you doing? You know, you're just measuring yourself against things that aren't, you know, relatable to you. You're there to make things run smoother, to you know, stop wasted resources, you mentioned, and to catalyze the success of the business through technology. And if you're not doing that, then yeah, it's not really a battle that you're going to be able to win, is it?
Yeah, exactly. And people often refer to the BRM role as a mini CIO role as well.
Yeah.
So if your CIO is doing this strategic partnering at a high level, then you can do strategic partnering at a lower level with a business unit rather than an organizational level or things like that as well. So it's always useful to bear that in mind.
It's a really good point, Jeremy. Well, yeah, guys, that's the end of the event. I think Jeremy, you've done an amazing job of talking people through that. It's been really, really valuable just even to listen to from my side. I mean, as always, guys and girls, we always like to open the session to questions. So if you have any questions, you know, feel free to take yourself off of mute, put it in the chat, but it's very open. You know, we just take turns in asking questions. So feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat, however you prefer.
Jeremy, I've got a quick question, if I may. Thanks for talking us through that. It was very clear. I'm the BRM at Vodafone for UK and Ireland, been doing it for about 2 years. Just had a quick question for you around how do you influence change within delivery teams that you're reliant on but don't directly manage? So if they're maybe not set up to deliver as fast as you would like, for example, I just wondered if that's something you'd come across in your time.
Yeah, there's always kind of resource constraints. Sometimes they're not, you know, they're not up to date with the technology that the business wants, and that, you know, they're working on old technology. Sometimes they haven't got enough resource to deliver as quickly as the business needs, things like that. The ways I've tackled it in the past is getting a really strong business case, looking at their kind of pipeline at work, and if I've got a strong business case and I'm looking at their pipeline of work and my business case is delivering more organizational value than the work that they've got in their pipeline, I can take that to my IT portfolio board and get it reassigned and get mine to jump in front and get more resources and get mine done quicker. The other option is, if they haven't got the resources, but the organizational value is there, but they're working on other things or they can't do it quick enough, I've outsourced as well to different people and said, gone back and said, right, we can kind of go back to the business unit and said, we've got a really strong business case. The internal development can't do it, but we've got a strong enough business case. We can ask for some more funding and we can get some fundings allocated to your budgets, and we can use that to bring in some external developers to get this in quickly.
Thanks. Yeah, makes
no
sense.
Worries.
A quick one, Jeremy. It's Ed here. So I work in the charity sector in care homes. One of the things that we found this year is we've reverted a lot of our maturity. We've been a very reactionary place to be, quite understandably. Bringing that back up, one of the things that the business on an exec level tends to react quite well to is operating models. But I found trying to build a BRM operating model is quite a difficult thing to do because it's not direct, information in, information out sort of thing. Do you have any examples of good operating models that are out there? Is it the sort of thing I can go to that tools place to find what?
Yeah, there's a few of them on the BRM Institute that show the BRM role, and it has got the inputs and outputs for the BRM role with the other functions as well. So it'll say things like inputs and outputs for projects, inputs and outputs for service management, and yeah, they are on there and they are about. If you can't find them or anything, drop me an email and I'll dig some out for you and send them over.
Brilliant, thank you.
No worries.
We got any other questions burning on people's minds at all, or?
Yeah, Nathan, I've got one, if that's okay. Hi, Jeremy.
Yes, sure.
It's James from University of Exeter. Just picking up on your point earlier about value plans against projects and sort of going to the IT portfolio board. One of the challenges I have in Exeter is t-shirt sizing of projects. So here we'll have like a capital project, then we'll maybe have something that's defined as business as usual, which could be an upgrade to our HR system. And then you've got smaller pieces of work, like enhancements, something that might be change of a report or something that may only take sort of a week's worth of developers time. So not all of those things would go through our IT portfolio board, but I guess what you could say is an enhancement for a report change could bring a massive amount of value. So I'm just wondering how that works where you are, and any suggestions really.
Yeah, so we classify kind of business as usual stuff as under 5 or 10 days. It keeps changing. But yeah, that kind of area. And then we have small, medium and large. And our small, medium and large are based on resources, value, risk, cost. We've got a kind of a table for it where you can look at it and then place it in one of those. So, and any small, medium and large go to our IT portfolio board for approval and prioritization, where we've taken that value plan and that business case and kind of trying to get it prioritized. The business as usual stuff, we just try and push it through. And if the development team or internal IT team say they can't do it, we take that, the value plan for that to our IT director and try and get it prioritized and fit in where we can. So that's how it works for us.
And that works. Does that work okay? I mean, I'm just trying to, we have, I'll open and honest, within Exeter is our SITS developments. So like I think we've got 7 developers, but sort of their BAU work is like at 100%. So anytime we want anything done, really, we have to look at contractors and everything else like that. So I'm assuming, Jeremy, are you weighing up and you're talking with sort of, in my case, it would be the head of development and looking at their resources and trying to then move things around and then go, right, hang on a minute, you're doing this work, who said to do it? Where's your value plan? Why is it? Why are you doing it?
Yeah, so for us, we have people generally assigned 50 or 70% to projects, and then they've got this, like, they've got a percentage for BAU. Their project time is loaded into a tool which we use called Meisterplan. That's run by our PMO, and that basically does resource management. So everyone's in there, and you have the kind of a line of your availability. You can load holidays into it and things like that, so it goes down to 0 when you're on holiday. and then the different projects are loaded in. That fills up this bucket basically of their time, and then what always happens is they get put into the red and they're over allocated, and it comes out there, and they get told to not do as much business as usual, which is fine unless something goes wrong, and then then it ends up in disaster. So it's really hard to kind of do this as well, because we'll get the business idea and we'll go to the different, like you say, developers, managers, team managers, and we'll say, I need this. Can I have an estimation of how many days it will take? And some of the team managers will say like 100 days, and some will say 10. And it's kind of like they overestimate and they underestimate, and it's really hard to kind of, but luckily our project management office is trying to keep track of it and trying to look where they overestimated and then educate them to kind of bring it down, and where they underestimate to educate them to bring it up. But it's still very much finger in the air and guesswork. So it is a hard balancing act.
Jeremy, thanks for that. I think when you just mentioned that, it's made me think about agile ways of working as well, and maybe our development teams can work in that way. So thank you. I won't hog you anymore. Cheers.
Thank you for the question, James. We've also got some questions in the chat as well, so some good ones as well. And speaking of like agile methodologies, one around project managers. So Megan has asked, there are overlaps between BRM and project managers when it comes to product strategy development. What's your view to manage it effectively and not overburden the business with the requests?
So how we're just moving to this now. I did a presentation on it before, but how we're managing it is, so our product managers are just coming in now. We've got some in and some more are coming in. So we'll have a product manager for finance services, and they will have an equivalent in the business of the kind of business owner and the product owner. They'll work together and do that kind of 2-year roadmap of the financial services and IT associated with it. And we'll have another one for student services and another one for some other bits. But essentially, they're all doing those individual ones with individual people. We are looking at everything else that isn't covered by a product, and there's plenty that's not covered by a product. And then we're also trying to tie those product strategies together at a kind of higher level above it as well, and trying to think that, yes, you've got all those financial stuff pipeline going, and we've got the HR one, but there's an overlap there, and people are being like, the payroll's coming out of HR into the finance one, so we've got to try and get those together and make sure that they're heading in the right direction. So yeah, it does get a bit confusing at first. So like I say, for the day-to-day operations, I would try and draw out those swim lane diagrams and roles, responsibilities and things, so everyone's clear on who's doing what. But then also try and work out a plan of how you can work with them strategically and not try and fight each other and tread on each other's toes.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, thank you for the question, Megan. Well, Hannah's also got a question. So she says, I find myself as the communication and engagement workstream lead for every point, because the BP is the only one who can talk to the business. Can you recommend how I turn this around and stop being so involved in projects?
Well, I'm the communications lead for IT at Loughborough University. So all the communications does come through my team for projects and for other things as well. So anything going out from IT to the business does come through my team. But what I do have is 2 great junior members of the team who are a bit more like admin support, junior BRMs. They do a lot of this. So they do all the hard work. I just do the planning and the strategy for it. They do the actual delivery. They get the comms, and they're from completely non-technical backgrounds. They get the comms, they proofread it, they put it in some nice fluffy templates we've made for emails. We do communications plans of, when are we going to stick posters up the students are going to see, when are we going to email them, when are we going to update the website. We plan all that out, and sometimes I'll sit in the planning meetings, sometimes they can do it on their own, and then they will deliver it all. So my advice would be to try and get some kind of admin support within your team and keep the communications. It's great to have the communications within the BRM sphere of influence, and it does really help. But yeah, if you're struggling with kind of trying to do the actual strategy and deliver the comms, then yeah, I know it's easier said than done, but you need to get a more junior member in the team to help deliver it.
Fair play. Thanks for the question, Hannah, and thank you, Jeremy, for answering. I mean, does anybody else have any questions at all for Jeremy?
think Hannah's just unmuted.
Oh,
yeah,
Hannah?
sorry. Hi. Just to kind of follow on from that, I think the biggest one for me, and hopefully other people, I think from previous conversations with people in the network, they do. The one for me is the role was actually established out of the back of a restructure where they got rid of the BA resource and those sorts of things. So people are confused about what the role is. My biggest one is, in my previous organisation in this role, I was also the comms and engagement lead, and I did have help, which was great. I don't necessarily have the help here. There isn't kind of the staff to pull on. Mine is it's kind of that culture and mindset of people that the business partner is literally the only person who can speak to somebody outside of the department and in business. So I end up getting myself into a position where I'm happy to do the kind of project lead on what we do and how we tackle it and all those, and I'm also doing the doing. But I also find that when people come in with queries about the project, which in my old workplace and experience would be probably the project manager step in, or a lead, or somebody to advise on a solution-based answer, I actually just become the middle person who translates responses between. So I'm not actually answering the question because I know I'm finding it out and just going backwards and forwards a lot. It's trying to get out of that, where people understand that yes, I'm involved in the communication engagement aspect, but taking kind of accountability for their own areas of, response.
Yeah, I mean, we have the same thing. So, a common failure of a BRM function is being a single point of contact. Nobody else can talk to the business unit but the BRM. That's definitely the wrong way to play it. We are trying to get people from IT more out to the business, closer to the business, engaging with them more. It's something that we're actively doing. And some people in IT are better in front of the business than others. Some, you can take out there and they do more harm than good, to be honest. But majority, they go out there and then they get a better understanding of what the business is, what likes and feels like, and what's important to them. And it's really good. So we tend to do kind of focus groups or take them along to meetings and get them a bit more engaged, a bit more comfortable, and then hopefully they're more inclined to talk to the business direct than needed, rather than saying, I've got a question for the business, can you ask them this? And you're just asking it and the answer's coming back and you're just passing it back. If you're not adding value in that interaction, just try and facilitate the joining up of the people to talk directly.
Thank you, Jeremy, for the answer. And Adam, I can see your hand up. Thank you for coming. Hope your flight was all okay as well.
Yeah, I'm a bit tired.
yeah, I bet.
Yeah, this is all very interesting, and a lot of things are resonating with me, especially when I used to be at Novartis as a business partner, regional business partner, and I can see they expected me, or my boss did, to be up to speed within 3 months. At level 5. So I guess there's a lot of unrealistic expectations out there, but what would you say in how do you communicate that to the business, to say there's how do you communicate that to them, like there's a maturity level? Because if you go to them and say, it's going to take 1 to 5 years to be given exactly what you want, maybe they're going to say,
sorry, I think
Adam, yeah, just lost you there, Adam, at the very last bit.
But I think I got the question though. So I think, what I've done is, with that maturity model, it's great to take that, but then change the language on it. So it says business perspective and provider perspective. So on mine, I'll change that to university perspective and IT services perspective. And then some of the language on the different levels, I've had to adjust to make them more suitable for the university. So the university, they'll say, we're not a business, we're an academic institution, we teach, we learn, and things like that. So I've had to reword it. But then once you've got it reworded in terms they can understand, then you can take it to them and you can say, where do you think we are on here? This is where I think we are, and this is my plan for us to get higher up. And then when we're higher up, this is what it'll be like. So you can kind of agree the current state, give them a vision of the future state, and then work out your steps to get there. And that works really well with the business and can also help within IT as well.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Thanks, Jeremy.
No worries.
Thank you, everyone. Some really, really good questions and some great answers as well, Jeremy. Any more at all before we end the session? Feel free, don't be shy.
If there's any other questions people think afterwards, yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn or just send me an email and I'll do my best to answer them or send you tools and tips and tricks or whatever else you need. Don't worry.
Absolutely. No, that's awesome. And well, look, if there's not too many questions left, I know that it's 10:30, so we've got the time perfectly. I mean, I'm not sure if everyone managed to see in the chat, but if you have attended the session, if you could just ping me an email after, just so that I've got the attendance and everything there, that would be really helpful. Everyone, just good to keep track of who's involved and who's the regular faces, etc. And importantly, of course, who's new to the BeBRM group. But I hope that everyone's enjoyed the session, and if you don't mind as well, everyone, like I said at the start, if we could just kind of get a picture for those who are okay with being on it. We're just going to put it on the BeBRM page just as our first meetup of 2021. So if you would like to put your lovely faces on the camera, that would be awesome, and I'll try and get this picture taken for the yearbook. Just give me a second. First time I've done this, so just getting the tool up now. But yeah, it's been really enjoyable. Jeremy, I'm sure everyone will say the same, but yeah, thank you so much for coming. It's yeah, and for doing this. It's been really enjoyable and really valuable as well, even for me to see how you guys should measure yourself against you know, certain measurables and KPIs and what not to. It's really insightful, so thanks, Jeremy.
No worries. Thanks for inviting me.
No worries at all. Okay, so everyone, I'm going to try and take this picture now. So if you'll just put your hands up, give a wave. Awesome. 1 second. In process.
I feel like I'm on a game show now.
Yeah. And the winner is no, thank you very much, everyone. That's awesome. First take. So yeah, guys and girls, it's been a pleasure as always. Really hope to see you at the next one. Yeah, probably do something around what to do when the business doesn't care, which is an uphill battle as well. So we'll be covering that on the next one. But really, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you so much, Jeremy, and nice to see you all again as well.
Cheers.
Thanks all. See you later.